But I think February 8th was an inflection point for legitimizing a Bitcoin as an institutional safe haven asset. I think that's the day that the Tesla 10K came out.
Yep.
And since that came out, you've got Mellon announcing they're supporting it. There's news today that Morgan Stanley is going to get involved with Bitcoin and support an ETF. There is news today that JP Morgan suggested that people should allocate 1% to Bitcoin. We had the Canadian Bitcoin ETF that came out, and they raised $450 million in the first 2 days. Most successful ETF launch ever in Canada. You saw an announcement of NYDIG today with an open-ended Bitcoin mutual fund. Marathon is a Bitcoin miner, bought $150 million worth of Bitcoin back at 31,000, so all these companies have been moving aggressively. Now they've got whatever, 250 million worth of Bitcoin. Hut 8 announced they're hodling Bitcoin. So I think you see an avalanche of publicly traded companies. I mean, there were none 12 months ago, and now it's one after the other. I think you see a lot of recurring themes, and as that happens, I think the dam is breaking. This story is broken into the mainstream media since you and I last talked, and you're starting to see stories in Bloomberg and the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal and the Straits Times in Hong Kong and Ireland and London, the Financial Times. The Financial Times put it on the front page of the paper, and the headline was something like, "Is Bitcoin now going mainstream?" And the answer is yes. Yes, it is going mainstream. When mainstream papers ask that question on the front page, they're asking and answering the question for you. Now, we're still in year one, right? Like year one of institutional adoption of Bitcoin started. You can either say it started in April or it started on August 10th when MicroStrategy dropped the $250 million buy. So, somewhere between April and August. And we're still early, but what you can see is Square put out their announcement yesterday or 2 days ago, and they said they added 1 million new users or 1 million new Bitcoin buyers in January. Okay, and so they sold like 1.7 billion of Bitcoin in the fourth quarter. PayPal is paying attention. So now you want to play the game of Kingmaker. Here's the dynamic, right? Facebook, Apple, Google, Amazon. Especially, you've got the Facebook, Apple, Google dynamic, right? I mean, Google Android is struggling with iOS. Facebook is sitting between the two of them. They've all got kind of a uncomfortable love-hate co-opetition relationship. If all three of those companies, those big three, because they're all big and mobile, right? Amazon's the fourth, but especially Facebook, Google, and Apple. Those three, if they do nothing, then Square and PayPal are going to consistently and gradually rip away their accounts. The reason that PayPal moved is Square forced them to move. Right? When Square moved, PayPal had to move. Now, PayPal and Square are wrestling with this. And it's possible that all three of the big three do nothing, in which case Square, that's the best thing that could happen for Square and PayPal, right? But it's not likely. There's that phrase, 3 people can keep a secret if 2 of them are dead. Well, there's 3. Okay, you can keep Bitcoin from exploding through the entire mobile space if all 3 of them agree not to compete with each other. But I don't think that's going to happen. One of them's going to move. In my opinion, Facebook has the most to gain and needs to do this.
Interesting.
Like Apple's got an iron lock on iOS. I mean, look how much power they have. A lot of power. Google has a really strong business and an iron lock on Android. Facebook is kind of the odd man out because they need to have a mobile app that's running on iOS and Android, and they're getting pressured by Apple with, you know, the latest privacy token maneuvering, and you can see the sparks flying there. So how do I upgrade my application so that it is so valuable that 1 billion people swear you will have to pry it from their cold, dead fingers? Okay, it's like, you're going to take away my photos, you're going to take away my friendly chats, or you're going to take away my money. Like when money flows in to Facebook, then that's going to shift the balance of power. And it's, you know, it's offensive and it's defensive. It's a defensive thing. You kind of got to do it to protect yourself against Apple and Google squeezing you on the platform. It's offensive because it's a way to double or triple your value proposition to 1 billion people. I mean, what could be more important than giving 1 billion people a savings account that yields 200% tax-free interest per year? Like, I can't think of something. I also think, you know, the wild card here is Amazon, because this is a chance for, I mean, Amazon Pay, is it critical? I mean, compared to Apple Pay or Google Pay? I mean, no, right? If I was in the pay business competing against Apple, I'm thinking, well, these guys control the operating system, they control the device. Mm-hmm. You better come up with something really compelling if you're going to compete against the company that controls the device and controls the operating system. Well, one very compelling thing is something that doubles every 6 months. Amazon and Facebook, they're the challengers in the mobile space. I think that Amazon's got their own franchise. They can afford to ignore it if they want, and they'll be fine. It's just an opportunity for them. For Facebook, I think it's a necessity for them. They need to build it into WhatsApp and into Facebook Messenger and into the core. Otherwise, they get squeezed. I think Apple and Google, it's an opportunity for them. And if they don't move, then Square and PayPal just get stronger and stronger until somebody notices.